Welcome to the Science of B2B podcast. I'm Kerry Cunningham, former Serious Decisions and Forrester analyst, and now heading up B2B research and thought leadership with 6 Sense. I recently had a chance to catch up with another former analyst from Forrester, Peter O'Neill, on a recent trip to London. Peter's been covering the demand in ABM space since the beginning of ABM time, so I hope you enjoy the conversation. So I'm here with Peter O'Neill, and we have something in common. We're both former Forrester analysts.
That's true.
I'd love to hear more about what you're seeing in Europe in terms of account-based or post-MQL-based.
The one opportunity is to talk to European companies here with the B2B marketing organization, but also the worldwide survey that I did last year, 9 months ago, on the state of ABM and the different vendors involved. I got some interesting numbers there. We did ask at some points how many of you are doing what we label as ad hoc ABM, which is basically just still finding your way of how to do it.
Yeah.
And the numbers are quite outstanding. North America, 25% of the survey, or the North American respondents said they're doing it that way. In Europe, it was 36%. So there's a step change between North America and Europe. And maybe the other measure is we asked about who was doing programmatic ABM. Are they fully automated to thousands or hundreds of enterprises at one go, advertising based to a great extent? There the numbers also tell the story. 25% admitted to doing that in North America, and only 12% of the European audience were doing it over here in Europe. So it's more early days here in Europe.
Yeah.
Now the sales organizations, the culture of the sales organization is also different here in Europe. And Europe, of course, is the UK, which is more American, and mainland Europe, which is even farther removed.
Yeah.
If I think about Germany, where I live, I don't think ABM has been discussed at all in the marketplace. At the moment, not because of the term being English, but just because of that concept.
I know I have some friends in Germany who are looking down these ABM paths and others, but it's,
That's
it's a
right.
North
I know about
American
Autodesk doing a European project, Atos are doing a European project, and even the one, the Atos ones, is run by a German on a European level. But the German part, the German component of the project is a little bit slower than the other countries.
In a way, I think that's good news for Europe, as long as European companies will be comfortable leapfrogging or skipping over some of the steps that North American companies went through, because I think it's been pretty painful for most organizations, and for a bunch of different reasons. But most organizations, when they started ABM, they focused on the delivery of content and driving more interactions coming back to the website, which I can understand why that seemed like the right thing to do. But most organizations did not have the mechanisms in place to capture the responses and to understand, as we've been talking about, what that buying committee or buying signal looks like when it comes back. So if you build the mechanism to go drive more response, but you can't actually collect it when it happens,
do anything about it.
That's the pain that I think a lot of organizations in North America have experienced. And to be sure, aligning with sales on the set of accounts and all that's the right thing to do. Being focused on the right set of accounts, investing more heavily in them and less in other accounts, that's really good, and it's driven better performance, but it could be dramatically better performance if you have the right mechanisms in place to catch it. And so for the European market, if you haven't gone through the problem of creating that first step and going through that, skip it altogether. Go right to the end.
I do have this running bet going on with Joel Harrison, who runs the B2B marketing organization here, that at some point he's going to have to stop running an ABM conference, because everybody will say that's just B2B marketing.
B2B marketing, exactly right.
So I presume he'll still do it this year, but that's probably going to be the last one, I would like to predict.
So we went ABM and then ABX, and now dropping it all together. From the way we talk about it. And we just talk about revenue technology now, or RevTech. What's the platform? What are the capabilities you have to identify opportunities, to help them progress, enable those buyers, enable your sales teams to be effective, and just stepping back, I think in North America, because the term ABM, ABX has come to be somewhat meaningless.
I'm starting to hear the term revenue operations in some companies as they start to mix and match their MOPs and their sales ops and bring it together. So that's the progression that's going on at the moment.
And the reason that organizations are doing that is to have better data flow, remove silos, have processes that are aligned. So that's great. To have consistent data, processes that are aligned to each other across sales and marketing is good. You can do that without combining the organizations. You can also combine the organizations without doing that, and that's one of the things that we've seen a lot of.
Okay.
So if what you're doing is you're saying we're going to match these two teams together because they don't get along and they're not working together.
Yeah.
If all you do is match those two teams together, they're still not going to get along and they're still not going to work
still
together,
not
right? So you really have to deal with the process. If you've got distinct data processes and things, you've still got to fix those, and it's the fixing those that matters.
Yeah, very true.
So that's, I think we'll continue to see RevOps being a thing because it does help encourage that. But we just, when I run into organizations that are thinking about that, I just like to make sure that, what you really
take it seriously.
Yeah, what you're really doing is you're aligning those processes and getting that done. That doesn't mean you have to, report to the same person. So focus on that. And if the reason you're doing it is to fix some of those processes, then focus on fixing the processes, not changing the organization. And sometimes, if you have to change the organization to fix a process, so be it. But focus on the thing that you're really trying to accomplish.
So the European market and European business culture is quite different than the US business culture. And I remember way back now, before Forrester days, I was at HP and was part of the team that started a partnership with SAP when they came out with R3 on the HP platform. And I helped them to set up in the US at the time, in the HP office, if I remember right, the HP factory in the corner. And within 2 quarters, they were getting double the growth in the US only compared to what they were doing with the same product in Europe, because things moved faster, decisions were getting made quicker, risks were being taken much more readily than what goes on in the European market. And European businesses and European investment decisions tend to take longer. They tend to be much more considered. Any vendor selling in a European organization realizes very quickly they must provide much more detail and proof of concept and information, ancillary information around the product than they would ever have to do in a US deal. And everybody they talk to has been to university and studied marketing or procurement or accounting or whatever they're doing. They're all experts in that, so they get much deeper in the topics themselves. So it's much more arduous to be successful. Now, notwithstanding all that, once you have the deal and you are working together, the relationship is stronger for all those same reasons, and you are more embedded than with your customers. So European business culture is quite different. And
I think maybe what you're describing is a lot more willingness to experiment and to fail in North America, like try a bunch of things, throw it against the wall, see if it sticks. There may be less tolerance for that sort of risk, and also for those quick failures in European culture. All right, Peter, well, it's been great getting a chance to catch up with you and pick your brain about some of these things and talk about them. So thank you for coming to sit down with us.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and enjoyed the discussion definitely about European and American differences.
Yeah.